this country. That's going to happen somewhere else. Well, now I think, the calculation has changed. And the way we look at political protest, the way policing is done in Ottawa, you talked about the hearings that happened. Some of our reporting around what was going on behind the scenes when it comes to policing was brought up in those hearings. So I think it has definitely changed the dynamic of how people...
They have not yet called me one of them self-hating Jews, but I suspect that check is in the mail. This is all that they have to say about me. Wendy Martin ran in Oxford, Ontario, running in 2021-2020. This is from the BBC. Likewise, in Quebec, Notre-Dame de Westbound, candidate David Fry managed to take 1,498 votes in 2020, while Tony Olinga fared far worse in the last by-election. They have not yet called me a hateful person. But if they do, it's anti-Semitism. If they go after me, it's because I'm Jewish.
As Travis mentioned, a lot of this had to do with how the police...
I don't want to say that. I said, for all of the demonization, I couldn't really find any prime examples of anything really, really objectively terrible that you've ever said, as if that's a reason to even think about condoning what Canada has done to you.
Moving forward, so what they've done is they've used those to attack the convoy. They've used those videos to sell. I call it hack journalism. It is probably a term in the dictionary that is hack journalism, where they'll take these little clips and they'll edit them together to fit what they needed to say. And they actually use those in the House of Commons to argue that we were racist, we were tyrants, we were, every name in the book.
You were coming out to violently overthrow the government. They were trying to pull January 6th.
That's right. And if you watch any of my videos, it was all peace and love. It was Woodstock. It was everybody. Do not antagonize the police. Do not cause any disruption. Be polite. Be apologetic. We cleaned up the streets. We know for the 3 weeks that we were there. People felt safe in the downtown core again. And that's the whole volume. But they once again did another hit piece. So Jillian, they did a Fifth Estate hit piece. There's an hour and a half worth of footage that they did not show. They showed a 5-minute clip of me to spin another narrative, which plays right into the Emergencies Act. They knew that the Emergencies Act was being invoked. The Emergencies Act was illegally invoked. The Senate did not pass it. Remember, Trudeau had given the Senate that Friday the day off, so they couldn't vote on it. He invoked the act, and then when they came back to work Monday, he lifted it.
Yeah, well, I think people might have forgotten that. He rescinded the invocation before the Senate could shut it down, because the word on the street was he had created such a run on the banks by freezing the bank accounts. He started getting calls from the banks saying, "What the fuck are you doing? We don't have the cash in our reserves to give all their money out. Undo this, and if you don't, the Senate's going to strike it down. You're going to get embarrassed." So he revoked it 3 days after invoking it, because it was such a national emergency requiring the Emergencies Act. 72 hours later, it had been resolved. And then Commissioner Rouleau comes and pats him on the back and says, "You did good."
Uncle Rouleau. We call him Uncle Rouleau.
Yeah, but he's not actually related. I got for goodness sake, there's two, what is it, Pierre or Paul Rouleau? I forget which one, but there's two people with the exact same name. You could understand people, although Rouleau is a very common French last name,
right.
French Canadian.
That was the running joke. The running joke was Uncle Rouleau. And that whole emergencies commission, I testified at it. They subpoenaed me and had me testify at it. That was a circus. It was never meant to put the convoy on trial. It was meant to put the government on trial, not us. And
in retrospect now, it was designed to be, let's get every evidence that we need in there so that we can justify Trudeau's invocation of the act. And by the way, Rouleau is not related to Justin Trudeau. He's not that Rouleau, but he's a longtime liberal supporting political player.
Handpicked.
Man, so you get out after 5.5 months. When did you get out? This is a little over a year ago now.
So I got out July 18th, 2022. I get released, and I was shell-shocked when I got out. I looked sickly, I looked sick.
Did you lose weight or put on weight as a result?
No, I put on weight. They didn't have any activity programs. You weren't allowed out in the yard. You didn't get yard time. You didn't get an exercise time. The food that they fed you was for pigs, like a slop. It was disgusting. Steamed food that it had to travel from Toronto. Ottawa, and then steamed. Like, this is how, it doesn't make sense, the whole thing. And we're eating, like, basically TV dinners, steamed TV dinners all day, every day. I get out, I get a crowd of people at the door, onlookers, supporters, whatever, media. And then I fly home to Alberta, and I have to stay at my mother-in-law's house. I wasn't even allowed to stay at my own house.
May I ask why? I don't want to get into trouble, but why?
They just wouldn't let me. They didn't want me staying at my own home. I had to be under constant supervision. So, because I'm such a threat to society. You know, I'm such a threat to society. I have to have 24-hour Overwatch.
I've never had a problem with you. I mean, and despite what I've read on media, even that, if that's the best you got, then I know that we're dealing with someone who's really not bad. I mean,
I'm one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, man. Like, and here's the other kicker. So I'm this big bad racist are of other ethnicities. My stepkids, you know, they're of color, you know, and they tried to bring that up in my bail hearing, trying to deem me a racist, and my mother-in-law, actually, it was kind of funny, because she had the picture of the grandkids in there, and she was waiting, you know, and I'm sorry I have to say it, she was waiting for them to say something about being a racist, and she was, like, ready to pounce, because our family's been sick and tired of listening to this. They're playing that damn race card, and they don't even know, they didn't even have the race card, and they don't even know, they didn't even have the mental fortitude to do the look and investigation themselves to see who I really was. They just went off themselves to see who I really was. They just went off absolute atrocious clips that the media were playing to paint that picture with that dog.
It's just that the problem is it just cannot make sense in law that you could have ever been held for 5.5 months on these charges. Period. Full stop.
I should have been released after 24 hours like everybody else.
What is it? In order to appear, you go back and you schedule your trial dates. That's it's enraging because there still is a not insignificant percentage of the Canadian population and other populations that thinks that, well, you know, he would have talked, he would have organized another protest, he would have crippled Ottawa again. I mean, and as if a year later, for any of that, it's enraging that there are still intelligent people who purport to love freedom, who call themselves liberals, who say this all somehow makes sense. You know, don't cause problems, you won't get into trouble, and they don't understand that it will come to bite them in the ass one day.